snaps of reps, and a lot of guys got to play and compete. And really, being the first scrimmage, you're not going to have it perfect, but I thought both sides of the ball effort was really, really high, and execution was good. I think defensively, with a lot of things that we do on offense, it forced those younger guys to really have to concentrate. So they had some mistakes on that, but I was encouraged by the overall execution on both sides, and I thought the offense did a much better job in the red zone, finishing drives, which we've been emphasizing. And I thought the quarterback play overall was very solid, and all three guys did a lot of good things. Backs ran hard, receivers caught the ball well. Defensively, a guy like Micah McFadden really flashed to me. One of our true freshmen, really encouraged by his development. James Miller as well. Once they got to full bore live, those guys stuck out, which is what you want to see. And I thought that was a really, really good sign, and just encouraging all around by the just the ability for us to have as many guys as we had involved and have that high a level of execution this early. So just got to build off of it and keep growing.
With James Miller, it looks like in practice you got him at the stinger. Is that kind of where you guys see him, or
he's going to learn both, and we started him at stinger, and then now we're going to probably move him at Mike, and then switch him and Micah so they can both learn both positions, and give each of them a week this week at those spots. So we're probably going to invert those guys, but really for the purpose of depth and just overall knowledge.
Did anybody separate themselves even a little bit at the quarterback spot in the scrimmage?
I wouldn't say separate. I would say that it kind of, I think as they've played in the first week, I think their strengths were their strengths as well on Saturday. And I think that, you got three guys that all have ability, and all have things that they do well. And I thought each one of them, their strengths showed out in the scrimmage. I guess that's probably the best way to say it. And so it's still, the next scrimmage to me, we're going to have to make some decisions, after that, going into week 3, and we'll be, I feel like we'll know some more by then. But at the end of the day, you're just going to have to, it's a tight race, and so to me, you're going to have to make the decision and go move forward.
What came out of the scrimmage that you felt like maybe a thing or two that you guys really need to work on?
Well, the biggest thing we need to work on, to me, is the execution of our twos on defense. We're talking about wanting to play a lot of guys, and I've said that from the beginning. And so those guys have got to be able to execute at a high level. And and one thing you run into, which is typical, you get a one who's hurt. We had a couple of those that weren't in there, and then so now the twos are threes. And so but that's it. They're one snap away from being a number 2. In order for us to keep that philosophy. So I really want a defense that we can rotate a lot of guys in. And in order to do that, they all have to execute well. And so that's caused us to say, okay, let's look at our progression of our install the rest of the second week of camp and how that's going to be effective. So that's the change we made with that. And then just to continue to take some extra guys and get some more practice time with them in the meeting rooms to be able to prepare them. And the other part of it, too, would be on the offensive side of the football, is just being consistent. We had some good drives, and then also had some ones where the defense started taking things over, getting 3 and outs. So just want to be consistent in execution on that side of the football. But we have a lot more experience on the offensive side of the ball, and as I've challenged them, they've got to rise up. They got to carry this football team early on, just like the defense had to carry the team early on last year. I felt, and I challenged them that way, and felt that was going to be the case. And so I just, anytime you got a more mature side of the ball, that team has to rise up, and that side has to rise up and really kind of be a great foundation that the other side can lean on while they grow and develop.
So talking about the QB specifically, does Mike almost have to do a little bit more than the other two to separate himself because he's got the option of the red shirt, or do you just remove that from your thinking for now?
Well, I think that there's probably more also from the perspective of just being unproven. You got the 2 other guys who've actually started and won and played in college football, where he's a young man that hasn't played a snap of live college football other than against his opponent, his own team. So I think he has to, in order to, for you to feel like, hey, he's the guy. Yeah, he has to, truly beat those guys out. And that's what we're telling whoever the guy is. I want you to make it obvious. Make it obvious, and it hasn't been made obvious yet. So we're still still waiting on that. But I will say I'm pleased with what the guys are doing. You know, I feel good about where we are. I feel like we got multiple guys that can play, and we've all know that as the season progresses, you're going to need a bunch of guys. You know, we've played 2-3 quarterbacks in the course of a season. You don't want that to happen, but that sometimes happens, and sometimes it's been more than that other places. So, to me, you need 3 guys that you trust that can play, and that process to continue. So, I just think that the older 2 guys definitely have an advantage of their experience, but you know, Michael's a talented young man, and he continues to impress.
He did some stuff with the ones today. Is there anything to read into that, or are you just kind of rotating the guys through?
Yeah, we've been rotating them pretty consistently, and because I want them to get a good feel, because there's a difference. The 1 O-line is different than the 2 O-line,
Sure.
different than the 3 O-line, and that affects, you know, how the pocket holds up, and you want them to feel that they're getting a chance. Sometimes you want to see them work with when they don't have as much around them. You know, can they create something out of nothing? You know, I want that guy to be able to do those things. So yeah, we've intentionally had all 3 quarterbacks working with 1s, 2s, and 3s.
Is Logan Justice going to be your pick at kicker for?
Well, that competition is another one. You know, we've got several position battles, and that's a very intense one. And right now, you know, coming out of the scrimmage, I felt like that Logan and Charles were had kind of become the 2 front runners for that position for field goals. And so we'll continue to we're charting every kick. You know, trying to apply pressure, create some situations today, and want to see somebody separate themselves there too. And that's the whole matter of fact. One word 2 days ago was the word separate, really for that reason. And we have several position battles. Mike linebacker is one of those position battles as well. Quarterback, obviously, kicker's another one. Got some safety spots, center spot. You know, got guys battling, competing. We want someone to separate themselves and make it obvious that they're the man.
With Jared smaller, I guess, then does that maybe put him more in a kickoff mode? I know you said you want those 2 to be separate.
I do, and I would definitely push towards that direction with him. Yes, that's one of his strengths, and an area that he definitely has done a good job at in the past, and need him to do that as well. And we got a couple other guys that are competing. We're going to probably, as we come out here following the scrimmage, kind of have a chance to see those guys. After the off day, here on Wednesday is going to be our off day, and so we'll have a chance to see them with their legs fresh. I want to see them kick off and just make an evaluation of those guys, because that's one type of skill you don't try to do a lot of, you know, to not over kick, you know, because it takes a lot to be able to execute that. So, but yeah, he's definitely, Jared's a guy that I feel like is the front runner for that spot, but he's still got to win that job too. So we got a lot of things still out there, you know, but it's, you know, early in camp, and that's what you want to see, competition.
Injury-wise, anyone concerning you right now?
No, I wouldn't say concerning. We've got the typical, you know, more soft tissue than anything. You know, you get shoulders, you get hamstrings, you get ankles, and that part's been good, you know. So we just gotta, you know, we'll know more about a couple guys that haven't been out here recently, but nothing seems to be long-term, which is a good sign. So, but you know, we just gotta. That's why you recruit. That's why you have depth. So you never know.
What are the key things you're going to put
No, I was just going to say, just quickly on the kickoffs, not asking for the whole playbook, but do you almost train those guys a little bit differently because of the rule change? Do you try to be a little bit more targeted in where you place the ball, or do you just want to kick it through the end zone because you figure there's really not much difference in the touchback?
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting dynamic, and we had Big Ten officials here this weekend and spent a lot of time talking to them, and even in the rules themselves are kind of getting flushed out, you know, completely. And I feel like we now finally got some closure on exactly how the rule is going to be enforced and interpreted on every phase of those types of kicks, and how it affects your strategy. I don't think anybody knows for sure what's going to be. I know what the intent of the rule, what they're trying to do with the rule, but I think that it'll be interesting to see what people choose to do, you know, and because obviously if you use a certain style of kick, then you almost kind of pressure guys into fair catching them, you know, and I'm always one of those, if you can, best case scenario is bang it as long and as deep as you can, you know. I like doing that, but at the same time, at the end of the day, if they fair catch, it still starts in the same spot, you know. So you got to try to figure out what's the best strategy, you know, to be able to try and gain field position. You know?
Does the rule say you can fair catch a sweep kick?
No, once it hits the ground, yeah. That's one thing that people have talked about. Hey, is that going to be something that people start doing more of to force people's hand? And we'll see. It may be. You know, that's something that I know even the officials kind of questioned us on. Kind of, they thought that might be a direction some may choose to go. The only problem with that is just the accuracy of those kicks is not as consistent as you'd like. You know, so but the kickoff is definitely going to be, you know, an interesting part of the game this year. We'll see how it plays out.
On the quarterbacks, do you want them to separate themselves by being really great at what they do, or do you want them to separate by really improving their weaknesses?
Oh, I think it's being great at what they do, you know, because to me, at the end of the day, it's about making plays. You know, and there's no doubt that the weaknesses piece plays into that. But you know, I think that, you know, especially the two older guys that have played before, you know, I think you know what their strengths are, and they need to maximize those. And it's about moving the chains and getting the team to believe in yourself and scoring touchdowns. You know, and just knowing that. And my thing I keep saying it is, you got to have a guy that they believe that when the game's on the line, just get this guy the ball one more time. Just get him the ball one more time, and we got a chance to go win the game. And that's what you're looking for that position, and that has a lot of, you know, variables into all that sequence. But at the end of the day, that's what you want your team to feel, and it's what the coaches to feel. And that's why it's so critical that whatever their strengths are, maximize them.
What's your drop-dead date for naming a starter?
Well, you know, you'd like to have a complete, full progression of preparation for your week 1 opponent. So you'd have to have one named, you know, prior to the week before we play, for sure, at the very latest. So
do you want to do it before that?
Yeah,
Preference?
I would say probably the week before that weekend is kind of the area I'm targeting. You know, that sometime in that week before we're going to have that mock game. The week prior to the game. So I'd like to get in the week leading up to that mock game is kind of my window of time where we're going to, as a staff, I think it's what you need to do, make a decision and get our team ready.
Good.
Sound good?
Thanks,
Awesome.
Tom.
Hey, we got some